So method number one, the so-called elevator pitch. Of course, it was called that because the idea is that they call lifts elevators in the States, and if you're asked what you do in a lift and you only have about 20 or 30 seconds to get it across, then that's in time for you to get to the lobby and have conveyed your message successfully. So it's called the elevator pitch, and of course it happens in typically a couple of scenarios. The first one pictured here is that you're in a small group of people and they just say, well, what do you do? And that's the answer that you give is called your elevator pitch. It may take 30, 60 seconds, but I think the most important thing is that you do make an impact in that time. You've got to say something that really intrigues people, and I think it succeeds when you get the next question, which might be, that's really interesting. Can you tell me how you do that? So if you've got that next question, you've pulled something, or they're trying to pull something more out of you, then you've really succeeded in getting their attention and in moving the conversation forward. The other situation, which is quite common where you have to do this, is the sort of the round robin or round the table or round the room intro. And it's typically done at things like BNI or Business for Breakfast, those business breakfast events where you go one at a time, and quite often people stand up to do this and they're given often a very precise amount of time, maybe 45 seconds or so, to get across their message. And it's extraordinary how people find this difficult to do. They don't find it difficult to describe factually what they do, but they certainly find it difficult to say something that's really interesting and compelling and which intrigues people to want to know more. Those two things are very different things. So one way I help clients do this is to use or to employ an acronym called PAL. And it's quite a useful little tip, this, because PAL stands for Pain, Aspirin and Legacy. And all of us in business are really in business because people have a problem of some kind that we can fix for them. That's the reason we exist, that they have a challenge or a blockage or something that's wrong that we're there to fix. So that pain is really important to describe, because then people realise that they need to listen to this because they've maybe got this problem, or they fear they might do in the future, or they know somebody who has. It's a great way of getting people on the right wavelength, tuning into what you have to say, and obviously wanting to know how you fix the problem that you've highlighted. So that's kind of a scene setting stage. And sometimes a nice way of opening up with that is to use a kind of an expression, when. So when you go to a restaurant and you can't find anywhere to sit, blah, blah, blah. So you're painting the picture of, a problem or a situation that people commonly have, and then they're listening. The aspirin, of course, is the bit that you do to fix it, and that, generally speaking, is the bit that people are very comfortable delivering, because that's the world they occupy. They know that area very, very well, because that's the work they do on a daily basis, and they'll talk to you forever and a day about that stuff. But the problem is that's not really where the client is. It's not what the audience is really listening to. They're listening for things that are more about them rather than about you. The legacy is important as well, because that's the happy ending. That's the difference that you've made to people, and you've left them in a better place than they were at the beginning. So I think the difference between where they were at the beginning and where they are at the end is really the value that you're creating for people. So this has a sort of a narrative structure to it, the pain, the aspirin and the legacy. So those little intro phrases that are pictured here, what we do is, and that means that. You may or may not decide to use those, but they're just a way of ensuring that you get that narrative structure across in your intro. There was a chap who I met a while ago who had quite an interesting service that he offered. He had a series of collection points that they'd set up around the northwest of England, where if you were having a fridge or a TV or some kind of equipment delivered, rather than waiting in all day, you could have it delivered there. And they were open from 8 till 8, so you could go and collect it when it was convenient to you. And of course that gets over the problem that we've all had in the past of being told to wait in for a delivery, and it's going to come sometime between 9 and 3, but they won't tell you when. And it could come at 9 minutes past 9, it could come at 9 minutes to 3, you never know, or not at all. So very often you'll waste the whole day, and it's a real problem. But I suggested to him that one way of opening that intro would be to say something like, ladies and gentlemen, do you realise that at this very moment, hundreds of people all over the UK are imprisoned in their own homes? Now that's quite an intriguing statement, because you wonder what on earth he's talking about. You think, oh my goodness, really? What's going on there? And then of course he reveals what he means by that they're waiting for a delivery. And then immediately we can identify with that situation, because we've all been there before. So sometimes it's nice to hold something back and then have it revealed a little bit later. That can work very nicely. One example, I think, of how, or typically how it's done badly, this intro, is when people say something like, oh, hi, my name's Jeff, I run XYZ Print and Design, we're based in Stockport, we've been in business now since 1979, and we provide a full range of printing and design services, including things like business cards, letterheads, pull-up banners, promotional leaflets. And it's a really, really dull intro. It's factually correct, but there's no story. It's not interesting. We don't know why he's doing what he does. We don't know anything about the outcomes that he's creating for people. So imagine a situation where he maybe stands up and he has a leaflet in his hand. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, or maybe not even ladies and gentlemen, just dispense with that, get straight into the story. He'll say something like, 3 months ago, a man walked into my studio and put this leaflet down on my desk and said, this is causing me a problem, can you help? And the problem was that he was launching a new menu in his restaurant in about 3 weeks' time, and he'd got hardly anybody to sign up to come along on the night. And the leaflet that he'd been using to promote the evening was this. And it clearly wasn't working. So we looked at it, we did a few design tweaks, and we came up with a new version, which is this. Now you'll notice that it looks a little bit different. We did tidy up the design a little bit, but the main thing we changed, I've actually obscured, and that's the headline. There's a little bit of sticky tape over the headline, which I don't want to reveal what we said in the headline or what we changed it to, but the result of the work that we did is that he had 55 people attend his opening night, many of whom have since become regular customers. So if you're interested in finding out what we did change that headline to, then do come and see me afterwards, because we may be able to weave a similar kind of magic for your business. Now what he's done there is he's told a story. He's told a story of a particular case study, but there's also some kind of narrative flow to it, and he leaves us hanging, wanting to know more. And I think we're very likely to go up to him afterwards and say, well, what was under that tape? So at least he's generated a subsequent conversation, which is a great success. So I think in summary, when you've got an elevator pitch, you've got an opportunity to really grab people's attention, to intrigue them, and to want to know more. And that's a great place to have them, not having given everything away, but intrigue them sufficiently to want to pull more information from you and have that follow-up conversation.